Right. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone here today to celebrate the opening of Ken Smith's 6th solo exhibition at Flinders Gallery. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land in which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to the elders, both past and present, and any who might be with us today. In this exhibition, Ken continues his exquisite painting practice, which has spanned the last 40 years. He's been a finalist in a multitude of awards, including the Jacaranda Drawing Award, the Hutchins School Art Prize, a 6-time finalist in the Tattersalls Club Art Prize for Landscape, the UTIC Still Life Award, both a finalist and a winner in the prestigious Ricky Moore Drawing Prize, and most recently a finalist in the Geelong Print Award. I'll now pass the microphone over to Ken, who no doubt will give us an incredible insight into his creative practice, the paintings that surround us here today, and the familiar Mornington Peninsula coastline. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Bill. And can I just put you at ease? I'm not going to sing. If I tried that, I'm sure I'd clear the building faster than a fire alarm. So rest assured. Look, thank you very much for coming. I really do appreciate you making the effort to come out on a Saturday afternoon. Can everyone hear okay? I hope that with this wonderful modern technology you can. I must say at the moment I'm feeling a little bit of trepidation. And I'm reminded of a quote that a well-timed silence is more eloquent than speech. So I'll just try and explain why I feel that way. Unlike many artists, I don't, in fact I can't, work solely from imagination. I need to have something in front of me that I wrestle with. So in this exhibition, all the landscapes were made from very specific locations, usually on the Mornington Peninsula where we live. Though one work, this one here, Coastline, was made in Sydney last year when I was fortunate enough to have a residency at the National Art School. All the still lifes in the exhibition were made from arrangements of found and constructed objects set up in my studio. I like looking at things. My second chapter heading might be called On Tone and Colour. Looking at the world, and especially in the way that is revealed to us through colour, is a wonderful experience. And we are very fortunate to see the world in colour. For most mammals don't. They're not so fortunate. Now, of course, tone and colour cannot be perceived without the agency of light. And so all my works here could be seen as essays on how light reveals or diminishes forms and how it operates in atmospheres and spaces. Essays on light, I think, if you wanted to have a brief summation. The third chapter, on composition and structure. Every artist brings to their work their own individual psychology and sensibility, much of which is mysterious to the artist and perhaps should remain so. I do know though, that in my case, I like order, structure and clarity in images. Perhaps I could therefore be described as something of a classicist. And this, of course, may be a very kind way of describing a control freak. Something that perhaps my partner Rosemary will attest to. But this sensibility for order may explain my sort of ongoing interest in the genre of still life, which I've really made since being an art student many years ago. The fourth chapter, the problem of constant change. Now, while there are some things in my external environment that I can control, and still lives as a genre is a very controlled form. You can control the setup, you can control the light, you can control many aspects of the arrangement that you work from. But as a landscapist, you have much, much less control. And you're clearly influenced by many external factors, weather in particular, but not just weather. Because landscapes are never static. They're always changing in some way. Now, clearly I'm not the only landscape artist who has to deal with this problem of constant change. So, how do other artists deal with this problem? Well, there are many ways of doing it. Some landscape artists put an emphasis on process in their work. Their works record how they change and how the situations that they're painting change over time. Their works may have lots of changes, corrections, pentimenti, adjustments within it. Some artists, on the other hand, landscape artists trying to deal with change, tend to abstract or generalise. They synthesise a whole range of changing situations down to one more uniform experience. Some artists, and many landscape painters today, work from photographs. Now, I've gone in the opposite direction to all these strategies. In my case, process is largely hidden. I want the viewer to see the end result. I don't want them to be too worried about how I achieved it. My trajectory with my work is probably towards specificity rather than generality, and I don't look for photographs. The fifth chapter, means and processes. Now, this exhibition contains works that are made with well-established methods, drawings with coloured pencils, and paintings with oil paint or acrylic. But it also has 7 works within it that are made with more current means. There are 7 archival pigment prints in this exhibition that were first drawn on an iPad tablet and then printed out onto Hahnemuller paper. These iPad drawings have evolved directly from my work with other mediums. And I see the iPad really as another drawing tool and a very useful one. The filing of digital images as they are made has really big advantages for artists. For you have a record of what you've done. You can always go back to an earlier stage of the work if you mess it up. And as well, you can make multiple changes to the image quite seamlessly. So invisible changes can be made that would be very, very difficult to achieve by other more traditional means. And of course, digital images can be reproduced by digital printing technologies many, many times. You can make additions. And for me, making works that sometimes take a long time to be able to get more than one image out of that process of image generation is quite useful. My last chapter I've described as being on serial imagery. For a number of years now, I've been attempting to deal with this problem of constant change in landscape that I've alluded to before. And my solution to this dilemma has been to embrace change rather than fight it. And this has led to a way of working in serial form, which ultimately attempts to celebrate change. I've worked on a number of landscape sites, making many different images of the same location at different times of the day and in varying conditions. And I have to say, it never ceases to amaze me how much you become aware of change when you work this way. This is especially true of the coastal locations that I generally do I work in. One of the issues, though, that immediately arises once you've made the work, the serial works, is how do you present them? And I've really experimented over the last few years with many ways of doing this. Initially, I put all the works together. I butted them all together to make one sort of continuous line, sort of stress the continuity. Certainly did that. But I sort of increasingly thought it was maybe throttling the work a little bit, just closing it down a bit too much. So subsequently, I've started to space the images out so that the distances between the works become part of their perception, part of their reading. But I continue to experiment. I don't know that I've come to the last word on all of that. Look, I'm actually not going to say too much more because, as I said to you, my lecture is on the walls here. If you have any questions to ask, maybe now the time to do it, or you're thinking about questions. Perhaps what I would like to do, though, is just talk a little bit about another work that's in this exhibition. As you came in to the show today, you would have been confronted by a rather impressive collection of flowers. This was made by a student of mine from Monash when I was teaching there until a year or so ago. It's by an Ikebana artist called Shoso Shinbu, who's a master Ikebana artist, and he very kindly offered me a few years ago when I was working with him on his MFA project. He said to me, "Look, Ken, you're going to have an exhibition. Maybe you might like me to do a flower arrangement for you." When this exhibition came up, I said, "Well, yeah, I'd like to take you up on that because I've got some works in the show that I sort of think may have a strange Western-orientated association with Ikebana." Sort of talking about my still life images here. So anyway, Shoso came in yesterday and made this arrangement, and I'm extremely grateful to him for going to that sort of trouble. And I think it's a beautiful arrangement. It's very ephemeral. It's not going to last terribly long. You will be taking it down next Wednesday, but I'm extremely grateful for him to do that. So Shoso and his students, thank you very much for that. Look, just while I'm in the process of thanking, but I'd really like to thank the gallery staff here, Melanie, Sophie and Claire, who's not here today because she's ill. I have to say, folks, that the people who run this gallery are very, very decent and lovely people, and I'm extremely grateful to all their assistance they gave me in putting up this exhibition. They're consummate professionals, but they're also very decent people at the same time. So thank you very much, guys. So look, if you have any sort of further questions about how I go about it, I sort of think this may be a slightly better way of going about it than me just explaining what sort of, well, what I think to do is give some broad guidelines. So Tom, yes.
I won't make a hard question. I was wondering if you have some idea of your lineage, if you had to choose the origin of where you think you come from, would it be Cézanne or would it be Vermeer?
Oh, that's a
question.
That's a question to put you on the spot. Well, look, I think I would answer that in the most diplomatic way and say I think it's both those answers.
When the crowd vote, hands up for the front.
Look, it's a really good question. And look, as artists, we constantly think about these things. Where do we come from? We know we don't come from nothing. We know that we are all derived from something else. You know, there is a lineage. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But look, I really think the lineage is all good artists who went before you, in some way, impact on you. And you continue just to discover new artists. You continue to discover new ones that you think, wow, gee, I really like the way that person did that. Maybe I could try and incorporate some of that. I think all artists are magpies. You know what it is a great quote Picasso said. You know, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Something like that. Or it may have gone the wrong way. I don't know. But anyway, look, we all do it. So both Suzanne and Kabir, I've been very, very happy. So
far easier questions.
okay.
No. You know, I'm curious about how many sections these paintings might take. It must be a lot, I think.
That is a good question, and some do take a lot, but some take very short time actually. Look, I'm very conscious of the fact that I guess I'm probably a fairly slow worker. My demands of the work may be a bit excessive. You know, there's a control freak tendency that I think I have. Some of the works do take a considerable period of time. Some of these works were done over a number of sittings, or standings. I'm using standing these, and I have to wait till the conditions are right to get back to him. Some of the still life drawings particularly take a long time, simply because of the process, the technique, the method. It's not a fast process. On the other hand, those little paintings on the other room there, the coastal series, I deliberately gave myself the task, because I know I'm a bit slow. I've got to do these in one sitting.
I did that in one sitting.
So they're all done in one sitting.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I had to work fast. I had to make sure I could work fast to get it done in one go. And look, when you're painting outside, doing these landscape things, you're very, as I said before, you're very conscious of change. The sun in the morning on this particular scene is on this side of it. In the afternoon, there it is here, the shadow, the sun's on this side. The whole thing changes. So you've got a window of about 2.5 to 3 hours while things are relatively stable, relatively, to work. If you extend it beyond that 2.5, 3 hour time zone,
You're just making it up.
well, you're forced to do what I was talking about before. It's to use lots of changes in the image, to emphasise the process, to abstract or generalise or to work in photograph. Just take the photograph in the morning, take the photograph in the afternoon. So I have to be conscious of that time span of the sun in the sky. But those ones in the other room there were constantly done in one session, either in the morning or an afternoon. I had to choose my site very carefully. I had to work out how am I going to get this to work. And some didn't work, of course. Some were failures, and I had to throw them out. So, but that's the nature of the process. So, does that answer your question?
Oh, it does. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, yeah. Sorry.
I've just got a question about still lifes, and I'd really like if you could just elaborate on the process of say, for example, the choice of some of the objects and your style of rendering and looking at materials. They're just so ephemeral.
That's also a very difficult question.
Yeah.
Look, I'll talk about the process first, the
Yeah.
materials. That's the sort of more prosaic element of it, isn't it? Look, it's a grey paper that, like a mid-tone paper,
Yeah.
like mid-tone surface have been used by artists for a long time for good reason. So I've used the paper first of all, but those particular objects are all things that I have either found or made. I mean, I do like making little constructions. So I made up those little blocks, I coloured them, I put them on a sort of IKEA ledge, and then I carefully light the construction. That little yellow object that's in both the upside down thing in the white container, or the metaphoric white container, that's a plant root that I found in the garden, and I dried it out, and then I spray painted it with a pressure pack thing because I wanted the yellow colour in it, and it's sort of a metaphor for a plant, really. It's, as I said, it's my sort of version of Ikebana. Ikebana, I think, is the art of juxtaposition, the art of contrast. And I watch shows so make his constructions, I'm always in awe of the way he puts things together. I would hope that I might have a little bit of that sensibility in those. So look, I set that the objects are all set up. I mean, I carefully select them, carefully light them. That particular construction I left for a few months. I didn't work on it because I just wanted to just look at it every couple of days and think, is this going to work? Because I knew when I committed myself to it, I was committing myself to a month or so of work in the drawing.
Yeah.
And if I stuffed it up,
Yeah.
I'd be pretty annoyed. So I have to be reasonably sure that it's going to work. And then I worked on it during daylight hours, so it's got that slightly soft daylight lighting effect. The one on the right, the painting of exactly the same setup, I did at night. So it's a very different lighting situation. It's an artificial light, the shadows are stronger, more high contrast. The one on the left is much softer, more diffuse thing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's right.
Suzanne?
I was just wondering, with the landscape, so do you work with numerous paintings on the same day? So that you're starting at 1 in the morning and then if you're working all day?
Yeah. Well, look, the simple answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
As I said before, the light changes so much between morning and afternoon. When you're trying to paint it, you realise just how much it changes. So generally speaking, I would have an image or a set of images that I'd work on in the morning, and then another set of images that I'd work on in the afternoon.
And so they must be constantly evolving, even if you're going back with a similar light. So the clouds, for example.
Nothing remains the same. You're absolutely right. Look, generally speaking, with the landscapes that I can't get done in one go, if I get the sky and the sea right in one go, that sort of gives me the key to get everything else right. That's generally how I found it. These ones here that I did in Sydney, some of those were done, one of them in particular was done in one go, but some I had to go back on a couple of occasions. But again, I've got the sky and sea harmony right. Everything else generally falls into place with a bit of luck.
Do you have a favourite child, so to speak, amongst them? These images?
Well, that's an impossible question.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have a favourite child?
I've got a child.
Well, it's an easy answer, isn't it? You
But
can't
artwork,
say no.
artwork, no, I don't.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't know I can answer that one.
Yeah, that's what I asked. That's right.
Maybe none of them are my
Yeah,
favourites.
The next one.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for your time and generosity. I was just wondering, when you start to draw on the iPad, the difference with the drag on the paper, how did you find that and what sort of program did you use?
Yeah, look, that's a very good question. A lot of people ask me that. A lot of people sort of comment, well, you know, paper's got this particular artist said this to me, paper's got a really nice textural feel to it. You know, there's a very sensual feel of the drawing instrument on the surface. You know, and I completely agree with that. How could I deny that? But in terms of the iPad, I didn't really find too much of a worry with that transition. Look, one of the things that really attracted me to the iPad, and of all tablets, I guess, I mean, I've only just used that one, but I'm sure there's others that's not unique to that brand. But you know, it's the old saying, you get what you see. I've tried printing technologies when I was a student, etching and lithography and screen printing. I never really liked them because the distance between the start point and the end point was often so great that your mind's just completely different. It's in a different space when you get to the end. Now, some printmakers like that, they really respond to that. I found it very difficult. I certainly didn't like etching where you've got a reverse image of what you drew on the... That really used to annoy me. It's the control freak, of course. With the iPad, or the tablet, you see exactly what it is that you're working with. That's why it works for me and it might not work for others. I mean, I'm not an expressionist, and I don't, work on vast canvases. I generally tend to work fairly small. The screen is obviously small, so the intimacy of it perhaps sort of fits my sensibility. I use a stylus, I don't use my finger to draw with. I think just much more sensitivity with the stylus, much more control again. And the program I use, it's just a very early version of Sketchbook Pro.
Right.
Sketchbook Pro, anyone else has used it, has evolved quite a bit over the last few years. It's now very complicated. I'm a bit wary about using it. It's a very simple early version. It just seems to work. It seems to work for me. So that's how I do it. I guess the transition was. Look, I just don't think they're that different from the pencil drawings, and they're not that different from the paintings. So it just seemed to be a fairly easy sequence of steps that led me from one to the other.
Thank you.
Answer your question?
And about the prints, Leger said that truth is in a nuance, and my experience of printing is that there is a subtle change in colour, often quite dramatic change. And I wanted to ask you about that, about how you approach that variability, how you match the colours essentially to what you want, what you see.
Well, as I said, to be honest, I don't find a lot of difference between the screen image and the print image. And I guess if there is, I can sort of anticipate it. Look, I think if you work, and you will know this, Anselm, because you've done this, if your image has an essential tonal truth to it, in other words, the balance between the lights, the darks, and the mid-tones, the image holds up in varying sort of lighting conditions. It still has a truth to it in different lighting conditions. So I think if you can get the big issues sorted out and get them fundamentally as you want them, then subtle variations of colour, subtle variations of tone that may occur through the process of making the image into a print, I think can be tolerated within the image. That's how, certainly how as I see it. Nothing in the images that I've made irritates me when I see the print resolution compared to the screen image of it to start off with. It might, I hope it doesn't bother other people, but at this stage it doesn't bother me. Is that? Bruce, yeah. Hi. Go for it.
I was wondering how you go about, or whether you're able to work on more than one style of painting in any one day. So, for example, you spend 2 to 3 hours on site doing something like that behind you. Are you then able to go back to the studio and work on something like your still life, or do you need to be in a different mindset for that?
That's a very good question. I think probably the latter is right. Yeah, I think
if you need to be in the mindset to still life.
Well, I mean, and just in practical terms, I mean, any artist who's worked outside will know this. There's a lot of gear you've got to lug around. I've got to grease up myself with UV cream and all that sort of stuff, and you sort of have to get a lot of stuff. You've got to take your water bottle with you. You've got to know where the toilets are, all that sort of stuff. So to then go back, look, if I started off in the morning and it was a really nice, good weather and it started raining in the afternoon, well then I might switch to still life. But generally speaking, no. Look, when I go out painting, I like to sort of go out in the morning, then go out again in the afternoon, if possible. That's things to know. Any other questions? Yeah, sure.
Taking into account that you paint on various days at the same time each day, is there a certain kind of maximum size that you feel comfortable at working on an easel?
Yeah, that's an extremely good question, mate. I guess there is, yes. And I guess in my case it tends to be on the slightly small to medium size. I have a very good friend and a very good artist who some of you here will know, Mary Tonkin, who works outside on a big scale. Now, she can do it. I think her way of working is very physical. She really almost sculpts the surface with the paint. And I think the physicality of her surfaces can tolerate working on that big scale. I don't know I could quite do that. I think my sensibilities are a little different from, in fact, I think it's a lot different from hers. So look, I tend to work on a smaller, more medium-sized scale. I guess the thing, and perhaps I can just explain a little bit with Mary too, because I know where she works. I've been to her little piece of Eden in Kalorama, where she works. It's all very local. All her painters come within a kilometre of where she lives. My painters come from a much wider circle of a region. And look, I have to have gear that I can't grab. I mean, some of those little ones I was talking about before, that they were done right down the end of the plein. Now, you know, there's no way I could like a great big canvas down there and get it done in one go.
You wouldn't be doing a David Hockney from your iPad, blowing up to 6 foot square.
Yeah, that's a good question.
10 of them.
No, I'm very aware of David Hockney and I have great admiration for him. And in a way, he did stimulate my interest in using an iPad. I think you know he's very adventurous in the way he tackles new media. But no, I deliberately just wanted to keep the images about the size of the iPad. So you know, perhaps it's a bit of an answer to Anselm's question behind you, to try and keep something of the authenticity of the process by which the image was made on the screen in the final result. So no, I haven't. I don't know that it would quite work for me if I did that. I think I might lose something if I blew them up too big. Who knows? But at this stage, no, I haven't.
It doesn't work for David either.
All right. Any other questions then? Any other sort of big areas of I think that's about it. I hope, folks, this has not been boring for you. I really do appreciate you making all this effort. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.